Good evening, y'all. Listen, I would have gone there, but I'm just feeling a little bit croaky. I've not got Rones, don't worry. She's not got the Rona, but we just can't hit the high note right now. But how is everybody? Hey, Sarah. Beautiful to see you on this Sunday, my gorgeous girl. But we're back, guys, for the 21st. It sounds weird. Like I feel like I'm American, the 21st. It's the 21st episode of Real Relevant and Right Now. And today's episode is all about AKA life coaching. So it's going to be a really great show. Hey, guys, thank you for joining. So we're going to be talking to life coach Michelle Alexander. She's going to be joining us very, very shortly. Michelle is a family life coach. She's done so much in her career, which we're going to talk about. But, you know, one of the things that I think she really prides herself on is female empowerment. So this one's for the ladies, y'all. No, it's not. It's for the men as well. Because we're also going to be talking about coping strategies with us now entering lockdown 2.0. And I know a lot of people have been feeling anxious. You know, what do we do? I know it's not as bad as the lockdown before, but we don't know if it could get worse. So we're going to really go over some super tips to add to our magic toolbox that I like to call of life, you know, things that we can use and things that we can do. Hey Indra, lovely to see you back again. Hey Pez, hey Jody. So I am going to get Michelle on right now. I'm also going to tell Alexa to shut up. Alexa, stop playing. She doesn't listen to me today. Alexa, stop playing. I think she's got the hint. Okay, let me get Michelle on the line. And hopefully she will be here soon. But I hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday.
Hey,
lovely. Oh, she's turned sideways.
Okay, let me take it out. I'll hold my phone. It might be easier that way then, because I don't know why. It's just like, the other way around. But hi, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, lovely. How are you? You're looking gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. And so are you.
Oh, thank you so much. So how's your Sunday been, Michelle?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a busy one. Relaxing but busy. I was with my mum this afternoon. And we just popped down to see my uncle, like I said, passed away. So we went to the graveyard.
So sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a good one. It was a good one. It was nice.
Super. Well, no, it's really lovely to have you here, Michelle, to see your beautiful face. And everybody, as I was saying, this is Michelle Alexander of AKA Life Coaching. And today we're going to be talking all about her business, her career, her story, and everything that this amazing woman has done so far. So it's going to be a real positive show, and I feel like we really do need that in the current climate, you know. But first and foremost, what about yesterday's news with Kamala Harris?
I know. I'm so excited for what it represents, to be honest. I'm just like, this is what children of all ages, of all nationalities needs to know, that actually things are achievable. So we had that 4 years where I have to be honest, I didn't even go to America for 4 years because I felt so passionate about it.
Really?
I'm a bit of a traveler. So, but yeah, what was happening, I was like, I can't believe this is happening in this day and age. So I felt quite strongly about it. And I didn't go to America for 4 years, but I went all over the world. So don't feel too sorry for me.
Amazing, Michelle. I love that.
I found other places. Don't worry.
Love that.
But yeah, it's such positive news. Just the fact that, you know, her mum had such a impact on her life, and the kind of activism that
she was like
an
activist, wasn't she? Yeah,
just everything about it is an amazing story, and the fact that two cultures coming together, and they must have had so many kind of views about culturally what that was acceptable and so
100%.
on, and then actually, you know, she's the second biggest, you know that glass ceiling is there's only one place higher than she is at the moment, really, in the world.
No, 100%. And I think the biggest thing that she has done, like you say, especially to our younger generation, with, you know, the whole world being in this pandemic and everyone's morale feeling quite low, she's given our younger generation especially, and women, hope. like you say, these boundaries can be broken. You can achieve anything that you set your mind to achieving, you know,
Absolutely.
and that is what is so powerful. And we cannot forget that, even in times like now, you know, even when it is hard and we're struggling, we can still continue to rise and rise higher.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's
No,
what
100%.
That's what I'm all about. And I think that actually it doesn't matter where you start, it's where you end up. And there are so many challenges that can come along your way, but as long as you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and then find resources around and people who are willing to believe in you, that's the main thing, really.
100%, I agree. And I think as well, it is about where you end off, but I think it's also enjoying the journey in between.
Absolutely.
Remaining happy, you know, not just always, I just think this is the goal, that's where I have to get to. Because sometimes when we do that, and I don't know about you, Michelle, like I can focus on something and then it kind of becomes a bore and a drag because that's all I'm focusing on. It's like I have to realign with myself and check in and say, actually, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this climb. I'm enjoying getting there. And I know I will get there, but I need to just keep where I'm at right now, you know? I think that's really important too.
Absolutely. I agree with you because my friend who, because I've started my business, like we're going to talk about this a year and a bit ago. And she said to me, she's a counselor and she's doing really well now. She's like, enjoy all this bit where you're advertising, where you get to speak to all, you know, all the clients face to face, and you get to advertise it and test it out on your friends, because actually when you get to the position I'm at now, I'm finding it really hard to be balanced even at this point. So and it's another milestone, but you definitely have to enjoy the process, definitely.
Now, Michelle, let's talk about you. So you are a family life coach, right? How long have you been a family life coach?
So I've been a family life coach for about 1.5 years, but realistically it's been probably about 23 years. Amazing. So the realism is that's the truth. So just to give you a bit of context, so I used to work in education for many years, and then during that time in education, parents used to come to me and would talk about their problems. So it start off with something that seems to be really small, and then you end up doing this piece of work with them. At the time, I didn't have a name to it really, but as I've gone along and now I work in early intervention, it's just something that I pride myself on, and actually giving people the tools to just succeed in life, really.
Yeah, and for anybody that doesn't know or maybe hasn't come across, what is a family life coach? What is it that you actually do?
Yeah, so what I do is help people to their next step. So a lot of people would have heard of a life coach, but really what I do is really unpick some of the behaviors that might have affected you in the beginning of your life. So I work for early intervention as well as have my own business. And a lot of the work that we do is kind of unlearning some of the kind of things that you've learned along the way that is kind of stopping you from getting where you want to be, or it's stopping your kind of successes in relationships, or how you parent, or basically just how you're showing up in the world. You find yourself repeating patterns that you don't quite know why. So a lot of the work I do is kind of speaking to people about how much self-awareness they have in order for them to succeed in life, basically.
And that is such a key point in what you said, because I always say one of the hardest things in life for both men and women is to unlearn. We can learn every single day, but if there are things that we've maybe even subconsciously picked up, like you say, as a child, and it's just in our nature, it's like in our DNA, it's been embedded from us from such a young age. It is so hard to kind of unravel all of that and take a step forward, you know. And I think, but it's so important if you don't want to keep ending up in the same cycles in life, or making the same bad decisions. Absolutely. Or whatever it might be, you know, because it can just spiral.
Yeah, I think so. I totally agree with you. And part of the work that I do is really kind of this kind of self-analysis and kind of unpicking what life looks like for you. So it could be something as simple as I've spoken about before to some of my friends and clients. It's like it could be something as simple as debt. And because of debt, you are not sleeping, you're not opening mail, that causes other problems. And really, the root cause of that could have been something that happened in your childhood, which means that you are kind of avoiding or spending more than you should have. And when really you don't have it, but because of the need to kind of impress, you end up getting yourself in this situation. So a lot of the work I do is kind of unpicking some of those key events that have happened in your life that is affecting your future.
And would you say, Michelle, and I don't know whether this is wrong or right, but it's just maybe an observation I've made through myself, through others in my lifetime. Would you say that some of these things that need to be unlearned, they stem from fear? You know, like when you were talking about debt, it's fear, isn't it? It's because actually, I think we've all been in those situations. I know when I was a teenager, I was like, oh, I'm going to get a credit card. And then I just was like, oh my goodness, I've spent all this money. I don't know what to do. So I'm not going to do anything with it. And then actually that fear caused so much anxiety because you're a young person. I didn't understand finance as I do now, when all it actually took was me like to have a conversation with somebody, make a plan, and then step by step we achieve that plan. And then you just release so much heaviness.
There's a lot of the things just by having a conversation, you release so much energy that actually something that can be so small, if you talk to the right person, can be eradicated in a few minutes. But what we do, we build up, and the problems, it becomes, you know, like I said, it could be debt, and then you stop sleeping, so that becomes a problem, and all these things kind of add on to the already you know, the small problem that
the issue itself.
So it spirals often.
Completely. And this is why I know I say it every single show, but I'm so passionate about it. Whatever you keep in will kill you. We have to talk it out. Like you say, talking to the right person, whether it's a counselor, a friend, whatever the issue is, no matter how big or how small, it's so much better out than in, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like those key points of people or support network you can go to. So a lot of the time, the work that I do with clients is saying, like, your first port of call is going to be obviously, or not, I shouldn't say obviously, because some people have fractious relationships with their family or friends. But your first port of call may be your friends and family, and then or advisors. Then you might go to a mentor, and then you might go to a life coach or a family coach or something like that, and then you might go to, you know, a counselor, and then you might go to a psychotherapist. So there's so many levels of support out there, but what we tend to do is keep that inside, and like you said, it's not healthy, and it becomes other problems. It could be a drinking problem, it can be just getting into bad codependent relationships because you're trying to fulfill a need that is void, basically.
No, completely. And Michelle, you're so passionate about what you do and the way that you speak about everything that you do. How did your story start? Like, where did your career actually begin? Because I know you and I had a conversation earlier in the week, and I just have so much respect from you and where you've come to where you are now. So just let the viewers know, like, where did your passions actually come from?
So I originally was from Acton. So shout out to anybody who's from Acton. So I was so I was originally from Acton. Most of my childhood years were there. I lived with my sister and my brother and my mum. And then and my dad in and out, because we had kind of my mum and my dad had kind of a fractious relationship, but he was around. And then I you know, over the years I had education there. I had good education at a school called St. Vincent's, and then my dad also had other children. I used to see my nan, my granddad, and so on. And then when I was 10 years old, my dad got killed. So he was killed when he was 10, and when I was 10, sorry. He was 30, and then my whole life kind of changed. It was like my dad, what I thought he wasn't. So that's another story that would take too long for us to discuss today. And it just meant that I was everything had changed. I was we was comfortable. Obviously now my mum's really a single parent, so resources wasn't there where it used to be. So we had years of really quite struggling, to be honest. And luckily we had my godmother lived not too far away from us, and she would help us, you know, if we had any days when my mum was struggling with money and stuff. And the community was just a really nice, we lived in a nice area, lovely community, and so on. And then I moved to high school, met some friends, had a bit of an incident where, bit of a bullying incident, and then I fought back, and then they were my friends. So it's a really strange thing. So shout out to all my friends that I'm still friends with since I was like 13 years old. So we're all, like really close. So yeah, so they've been amazing. But then when I was 15, I fell pregnant. So I was a teenage mum. And I found myself in a situation that before I found out I was pregnant, myself and my daughter's dad weren't together anymore, and I found myself in a situation where I was basically a single mum. I was in hospital. All the other parents were like smiling with their partners and stuff, and I just looked at my daughter Kaylee at the time, and I was like, you know, you're going to have a good life. We're going to have a really good life.
So in that moment, you made that conscious decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
And I was young, but I knew that I wanted a good life. And I remember when I was having my daughter, there was a nurse, and my mom was there and so on. And there was a nurse, and I was like, oh, I definitely think that I'm having the baby now. And she was like, no, you're not. And then like she turned around and she was like, oh, yeah, you are, kind of thing.
No
so in that instant, I remember just feeling like, because I'm young, you're just not going to believe me. And then that made me even more determined, because it was like, you know, nobody's going to prejudge me for what I'm capable of, so on. I went to college. I've done really well, and I was managing by the time I was 23,
which is amazing.
Yeah, I was really driven. So yeah, I just remember thinking that all that weight was always on the mum, and I was like, when I get an opportunity, I'm going to definitely give back. You know, that was my journey, really.
And do you feel, for you to be able to achieve, like you said, going to university, going to college?
I did go to university, but I studied a lot. Yeah.
Sorry, but yes, studying, going to college, managing at the age of 23, which is a super responsibility, as well as being a mum. Did you have a real good support network around you?
Oh, absolutely. My daughter's dad, although we weren't together, we both come from, like my mum's Dominican, my dad's Grenadian. We have really good cultural expectation for things like that, and family. So I'm really close with my family, and obviously my friends, and also my daughter's dad's family, which he probably hates, but I'm always there. I'm still there. Like,
oh, I love it. I love it. And can I just say, like, for anybody who may be watching this, who may be in the same situation, or who may be an actual young mom, or may have been trying to had their child and trying to kind of figure out life, if they don't have a supportive network around them or a supportive family, what resources are out there for them, Michelle? Do you know of any resources or charities where they can seek help and support?
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And the major reason why I changed careers completely is because of this. When my daughter was about, I was just finishing one job and I was going into the other because I wanted to change career, and I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. And then I met this young girl who she was in a similar situation, but her life was very different to mine because she didn't have the support network. Okay. So in that sense, I was like, I want to help young mums, so let me find out what we can do. And then I went into some interviews, and they were like, go into this field, which was children's centres. So one of the things I would definitely recommend is going to children's centres. So that's how I got into early intervention. So there are a lot of support through early intervention and through certain charities as well. It depends, because what I would like as a teenage mum, people kind of box you into one category. Yeah. So some teenage mums may need support with sleeping. Some teenage mums might need support with finances. Some teenage mums might need a home to go to, and there's some really great ones through YMCA. And it might be that they want to go to work, but they haven't got the education at the time to do that. So there's something called Straight Talking. That's teenage mums go into schools actually, and they talk about basically their experience and also give them
Wow.
advice. So that I'll send you some links, but there's loads out there. I work for Early Intervention, the local authority also, and we do lots of different programs and their support. But there's things through BBC, welfare assistance, loads of different things that can actually support you. But fundamentally, obviously, services like myself as well, I have a particular bit, loads of information on my website to help people. So whether it's spiritually, money, whatever, it's there for you to download and find out.
Super. And I'll make sure that we put, guys, all the links on when I post the video. So anybody that is out there that feels like they need support, we'll give you kind of some easy access to those links and to those different support charities. But yeah, sorry, Michelle. So you were saying about, you know, you'd met this young girl and this was kind of the start of your career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I met this young girl, didn't know much about her because my daughter hadn't seen her for many years. And then we hadn't seen her again. But anyway, I went for this job interview. A friend of mine, he said to me, just try, because I'd been managing for so many years and managing various different sites. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I could work for anybody again, if I'm completely honest. But, you know, maybe I need to work for myself. And then I went for this interview and I just like felt like I'd been there before. And actually
Amazing.
How I got there on my interview, I went the wrong way, and then this cab driver, bless him, till this day I really want to find him, because I was in Ladbroke Grove. I went the wrong way to this interview. I was in Ladbroke Grove. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so late to this interview, I've gone the wrong way. And then he went from Ladbroke Grove to because I worked for Brent, to Brent, and dropped me for free. He's like, because we couldn't find a cash machine. He was like, no, go for free. So to this day, if anybody knows this cab driver who gave me this journey for free, then we need to find him, because I'm just like, I can't believe it. I would never have been on that journey. But it gets even more scarier. Like I said to you before, it was like, so this girl that we hadn't met, never met her again. And then 2 years later, so I worked up the ranks and became in different positions. And then a colleague of mine was talking, they said this child's name, and I was like, and then they said another name. I was like, is this blah blah? And they were like, yes. So the same girl that I changed career for, basically, she ended up being my colleague's client. So sometimes when you just know that it's the right thing to
100%.
do. Energy.
It like came around in full circle. Like, this was your calling, this was your purpose, and you were literally on the right path. That's amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. So yes, it's something that I'm really passionate about, because I think we've all got our own stories, and I think that our stories definitely can affect our how we show up in the world and the choices we make. And if we don't kind of look deeper into that, we can either blame ourselves and say, well, actually it's my fault, and be kind of get into this victimhood, or we can't sometimes not recognize that actually some of this is to do with brain development, and how that actually has been affected, and attachment theories and loads of different things that, obviously, because I worked for education for many years, and have studied, I can't even tell you how many theories and whatever I've just studied for for my whole life. It's like when you're in education and social care, it's like all you do is study all the time. So
I can imagine, because people are constantly changing, you're constantly changing, growing, your perceptions, everything. So I can imagine.
Yeah. And I think you have to keep on the pulse as well, because theories change, strategies change within boroughs and things like that. So and you get more knowledge. People get more knowledge about how we work as people, really. So
yeah. No, definitely. So Michelle, where did AKA Life Coaching come about? Because I know that you've done so many different things. Like you said, you've worked in education, you've worked for the council, so you've just been climbing. And now you have your own business, your own company, AKA Life Coaching. Where did all of this start?
Yeah, so when I started working in local authority, people kept going into the system that I thought, well, why are you here? Like it doesn't make sense. And it kind of made me realize that regardless whether you're economic background or not, people are people, and we face the same issues, and it's how we deal with issues. So sometimes people don't have access to those services, or they don't know they're out there, so they leave it to, a bit like we was talking about before, crisis point. And then when it gets to crisis point, then they are then in the system rather than finding out. So I'm also trained in autism and various different parenting programs, because somebody who might have a child with disability or a mental health issue which starts off very small, you know, they may not receive that support straight away, or there might be some denial depending on cultures or whatever. But fundamentally also I was seeing more and more women who were just struggling with work-life balance. So the life has changed so drastically with the role of women. So we're expected to go to work all the time. We're supposed to be good at, you know, doing we're supposed to be good at doing homework, to do projects, everything. Like everything is now our role, but the kind of caring side of things haven't changed. And I was starting to see a lot of women who were just burnt out. So I was like, do you know what, I really would like to support these women, so that we are really focusing on mindset and equity, and how can we redistribute these roles that have been kind of thrown upon us and now needs to be rejigged and realigned, really.
Amazing. And so this is where AKA Life Coaching came about. And because I know when I was looking at your website and doing a bit of research on you, you spoke about something. I can't quite remember the name, but you said, like, was it free jobs?
Pardon? Sorry?
Free jobs or something, when you were saying, you know, when a woman has a job.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Also, is that what it's called? Was it free jobs?
Yeah. Well, I know what you mean, but yeah. So you end up just having you know, all these different roles, you know, like in one, basically. And and then if you don't start, or you automatically think that that is your role to do that, you will get burnt out. So without you having good communication skills, it's very difficult. So a lot of the work that I also do is with couples who are struggling to communicate. So it might be parental conflict, or even just relationship conflict that I'm trained to do as well. So that's helpful. So making sure that you use I statements instead of you statement, you do this, you do this. It's like, I feel this, and really fine tuning some of the language and the communication that you may not have seen as a child. So actually when you're in a relationship and you're stressed, it just it gets worse, really, and it affects the children and also yourself if you don't have children.
Yeah, of course. And in regards to AKA Life Coaching in the current climate, how can people reach out to you? How would they be able to get sessions? Are you doing them over Zoom? Are they, you know, because obviously we can't go one-on-one. So
so at the moment we're doing them on Zoom. And that's the kind of model that I'd like to do anyway. In my long-term goal is that it will be in workplaces, and you'll have access to all of that information on the your kind of intranet service, that you can actually do courses on development, so that you have a clearer understanding of as to why you're actually behaving in certain ways, because some of it isn't necessarily all down to you. Definitely there's an element of choice, but understanding kind of the history behind your family makeup and how that might be presenting in your now is really important. So, but at the moment, yes, we're doing on online, and in the future we'll be doing cohorts of groups that work together.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know that you say, Michelle, you know, not all of it is down to you. It can be down to kind of your family background and the programming and stuff, but it is also important, I think, to highlight that a lot of the work is you. You know, you have to be ready to take accountability. You have to be ready to make an actual change, and to actually want to do this, you know, because a lot of people can, I don't know, I feel like I've come across a lot of people in life that they can moan and they don't like this, and they're not, but they don't actually physically do anything to get themselves out of it. You know, and nothing worthwhile comes easy. You know, you have to work hard.
And that's why I say that actually it's good for you to look at and have conversations with your family, find out some historic information so you've got context. So that's not to negate that actually you have a responsibility. So actually knowing the context sometimes helps. So if you have a fractious relationship with your mum, but actually she had a really terrible upbringing, she was brought up in care, she might have just been left, especially Caribbean culture, lots of parents were left basically in the Caribbean so that their parents could come and work here. Like they haven't really had a role model of what parenting looks like. And actually then they parent you and it's quite negative. So actually helping to have the context can help you to move forward sometimes, because otherwise 100%. You get stuck into that kind of victimhood. And in psychology we call it the drama triangle, where you end up being a victim, a perpetrator, or you are basically you're a victim, a perpetrator, or you're a rescuer.
A rescuer. That was it. Yeah, because we spoke about this the other day, and I really wanted to cover this because I think this is so important. So it's called the what triangle? Sorry, Michelle.
Drama triangle.
The drama triangle, right? So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how would we identify where we would be within this triangle?
Yeah. So some people, you could be anything at any point. So one time you could be the victim, and then you could be the persecutor, because then you could be complaining to your friends and but you're not really doing anything about it. So you could be all roles at one point in your time. So somebody, for instance, if we go back to what we was talking about before about parents. So at one point they may have been a victim. They may be be neglected or whatever. But actually then they become the perpetrator because they're angry. They then become the perpetrator to their child. So there comes that. But also we have this dynamic. So then not only have you got that dynamic, but you've got another dynamic where in a family of, if you've got siblings, one person could be the good person, one person could be the bad person. So you have all these kind of elements of family and how that works. That needs to be unpicked and understood so that you can move on. But there's another thing that I like to talk about, and this it's about your psyche and how that can be split. So when you've experienced certain things in life, so it depends on how much healthy self you have left in order for you to move forward. So if you have a lot of trauma in your life, you end up using a lot of survival strategies. So that's a bit like what you talked about. So friends who instead of trying to get themselves out of the situation, what they'll do is make excuses, end up getting in abusive relationships or attracting the wrong people. And those things can actually happen in work. So it doesn't just affect you in terms of your intimate relationships. It can then start affecting you in your work environment.
Working relationships,
And then that dynamic, that kind of drama triangle plays out there, because actually people in the workplace have also been through trauma or various different things, and they can then become persecutors and inflict that kind of bullying in workplace environments as well.
Yeah, no, of course. And Michelle, just going back to, and that is some really, really super information. Like when you told me that as well, it blew my mind, because I could literally, can I just say, apply that whole triangle to my past. And it does help you, I suppose, compartmentalize and maybe just gain a bit more understanding as to why maybe certain family members are the way they are. And it did actually allow me to let some stuff go. Which I think is so important to move forward. And I know we spoke about this, we can hold so many bags and become bag women and men. And we've got all these beautiful coloured bags that just slow us down. When actually we could drop them all and just keep walking. Moving. But we find, we find it quite difficult to put these bags down, even when they're not serving us.
Exactly. And it's funny you say that, because we as people can really understand that the way our parents parented us can affects how we show up, but we don't kind of give them the grace to think that's the same. But also it's not even about saying that it's okay, because some of the behaviors that they do is just not right.
No, I agree.
But what it is about saying, actually, this is what I've been through, and this is how it's affected me, and because this is how it's affected me, what strategies do I now need to put in place, because I know that is kind of a weakness of mine at the moment. So it may be, like we talked about before, going for some therapy. It might be you know, having some spiritual practices. It might be going for yoga. It might be just having a conversation with that person and say, well, actually, this is how you made me feel. And that could be we're saying parent, but it could be a teacher at one point that you might not be able to say that to. So I always encourage things like writing a letter to that person that you might never be able to give, but actually it just releases some of the anger that you have, and just so that you can move on. So there's loads of these tips that you can do.
Definitely, because that was something I was going to ask. What if the person that you have an issue with, or the person that, as you know, you've got all this built up resentment or anger for, what if that person is just, they're not available for you to talk to? What if that person is not there or doesn't want to engage in that conversation? How would you overcome that? And I think that is a really great idea about writing a letter.
Yeah, I think so. And I think writing a letter, and like I said, it's the acknowledgement of how it's affected you is the main thing. So if you know, if you're conscious, then you be like, actually, because X, Y, and Z, we had a conversation about that. And I've had this with many friends and clients. It's like, I know because my X, Y, and Z did this, or a teacher did this, I then, and now when I'm in a work environment, I then don't want to speak, or I don't like to read off a board or whatever. If we know that, we can say, you know, you can put that to rest and say, what do I need to do? What skills do I need to do to feel more comfortable, so that doesn't be the narrative that I continue to have? So if you it's almost like you have to start problem solving. And you know, I'm sure loads of the viewers can identify with that. It's like, you know, sometimes we problem solve the same way. So we're, you know, it's a sat nav when it's telling us to go left, but we know there's a block there, and we keep going the same way.
We keep going left
even though we know that it's changed. Or in the perfect example of I always give is like, you know, if you're stressed, what do? We go out, have a drink, whatever, let ourselves our hair down. We're stressed about work, and then we go into work and we're tired, and that problem hasn't gone away. So it's like, what do we need to look at? Is it how we're showing up in work? Because we have to have onus. Is it because sometimes it is about us and how we're presenting ourselves, or is it about having a tough conversation with somebody who might be a bit higher ranked than us, but actually this is how you're making me feel, or you're putting too much work on me? Or is it that you've got to a stage in your working life that you need to change career, and actually the thing is, it's not really them, it's just that you've outgrown that place.
You've outgrown it. No, 100%. And Michelle, you know, going back to what you were talking about, 2020 has obviously been such a difficult year for many of us, especially our generation, the younger generation. You know, like when I think of my nan and granddad, like when I think of my granddad, he always says, Kirsty, I've been through the war, and he's got this such strength, you know, like, but for our generation, we've not experienced anything like this, you know, and I think we've been so spoiled with things like social media and how things are so accessible to us. This has been a really tough time. And we're also, you know, we have to consider the fact that loved ones are becoming ill. We're losing loved ones, you know. People are actually living in fear right now. What coping mechanisms or any advice can you give to people to help them deal with the difficult situations that we're in? Like you say, you know, a lot of people, they get stressed out from work. One of their coping mechanisms might be going for a drink. They can't do that anymore. What can we do to try keep ourselves positive?
I think it's a real time for self-reflection and gratitude, really. I mean, if that was what you did to solve your problems, is it really an effective way to solve your problems, really? And actually, is it time to look inwards and start finding strategies that are more purposeful and more healthy? So at this time, what I've tried to do is really think about what routines really worked before and what are not working anymore. So I've realized, especially because of my job, I get you know, people with a lot of trauma on a daily basis. I like to walk, and I like to go to walks, and I do this exercise where I go to the park, and I try not to name things, and I just try to center myself, and I've got lots of practices, if I'm honest. But I think finding your practice. So a lot of people want to be given things, and then when they don't work, they're like, well, it didn't work for me. It's like, actually look within and find the kind of little things that you used to do before that really works, that you've taken out of your routine. So what I found is, because I'm at home now, working from home, on the morning I'd always go for walks, and I always listen to a podcast. I do my affirmations and so on.
Yeah.
Well, affirmations, I do lofty questions now, but but yeah, so all of those things you don't realize play and show up in your life and make you more energetic and so on. The walking, the talking to people, your colleagues, and having a little moan sometimes about a situation. So when you remove certain things, so like I said, that because I'm working from home, I'm not getting up as early, so then I'm going into the shower and straight onto the computer, where you might have missed that podcast that I used to love listening to, which uplifted me. So it's all of those things, really evaluating what works for you, but also what's around you. So you might not have a gym, but you might have an outdoor gym outside, or you've got friends that you can use technology for. But really reading and just a lot of self-awareness. I think that this is the time to really slow down, really kind of take stock of what you like in your life, what brings you joy, because I think a lot of the time we don't realize who is positive energy around you and who's not. And actually it's a time for really taking stock about those people who are important to you, and also some of the people that you might, or things that you might want to change. But gratitude is one of the big things for me, and self-love, really trying
100%. And I think it's really important, like you said, a lot of people, especially in this time, it is like they're wanting to be given things. I'm bored, I can't do this, I need something to do. I personally feel, because we have been so spoiled with the things that we do have in life, those people that maybe aren't consciously, in my day-to-day life, I'm quite a spiritual person. I meditate every day. Like you, I always give gratitude. And so therefore, a time like this for me, don't get me wrong, there have been times when I have really struggled. But in the same token, I have looked within, and one thing for me, I love to get my nails done. Like I'm so proud of how long my nails are. They're all mine. I'm like, yes, curse. Like, I used to always bite my nails, and obviously the nail shop's now shut, so I can't go. So I spent so much money on Amazon, and I basically could open my own salon. But I've taken joy in actually doing my own nails, and I'm practicing, and I'm getting so much better that it's really actually making me happy. And I think that is a really important thing, that, like you say, people need to slow down. And I think maybe even go back to when you were a bit younger and think about things that you used to get joy from, whether it was walking or jogging or, and I also think that where we live in London, well, I live in London anyway, it's such a fast-paced life anyway. So I know for a lot of people in the city, to slow down, it's like, oh my gosh. But for somebody that is really struggling to look within, what kind of advice would you give them to really kind of sit down and center themselves, Michelle?
I think that for somebody who's really struggling, I think that there's two things. There is that kind of, inner work, let's do this, listen to podcasts, inspirational music or whatever, candles, whatever. There's lots of that. But it's actually, the main thing is to really identify, is this something that is something that can be fixed in terms of just by things that are quite accessible, or do you think it's a deeper concern? And I think that that's what you need to kind of really work. So I do a lot of scaling. So I'm like, how are you feeling? And like on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being really, I'm really bad, or 10 being, I'm feeling, suicidal or whatever. And actually, sorry, the wrong other way around, I said that. So 0 meaning that I'm suicidal, and 10, meaning like I'm really fine or whatever, so that you can pinpoint it. Because I think a lot of the time people kind of, especially with all the mental health, people just assume like, oh, just get over it, just get over it. And I think that it also is conscious to that people are sometimes going through something bigger than that, and they might need to access some support. But I think in the day-to-day basis is, like said, gratitude, cooking, you know, meditating. I'm really a fan of just having a bath, you know, and just really slowing down. And actually for me is one of the major things is taking stock on and that real self-reflection and self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and what you're actually feeling. Because a lot of the work I do with people is actually naming their feelings. Because a lot of the time, especially when we're younger, we talk about happy and sad instead of really unpicking what feelings we're feeling. We might be feeling frustrated. That's a different word to anger and happy and sad. So really picking out key languages so that you can solve that problem. Because if we keep using blanket statements, we never get to the root cause
of what it is, of what the actual issue is.
Actually, I'm envious, I'm feeling down about something specific. So the more specific you can be about how you're really feeling is powerful, because then you can get to the root cause, and then you can solve some of these problems that might be there still bubbling down lower, but actually we can get to the root of it very soon.
Definitely. So it's about being super honest with yourself, isn't it? It's about being super honest with yourself. And like you said, if having a bath, going for a walk, all these kind of activities aren't helping you, then being brave. Because I know for a lot of people, it can be difficult to ask for help, but to know that, you know, you can access your local council, you can phone the doctors, you can seek a life coach or a family life coach and reach out, put your hand out and actually ask for that help. Because when it is that issue and you're finding everything else that you're doing isn't working, the root cause is obviously a lot deeper, and therefore get the help. You know, it's not a weakness. I know some people will say it's weak to ask for help, when actually, you know, I always think that being vulnerable, even though that it is kind of a feeling that is a bit scary, being vulnerable is where you show your strength, and it is where you get your power from. And, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and strength comes in numbers. So the only way that I can grow is by asking somebody who knows more than me or is a few steps ahead of me and saying, hey, can you please help me, because this is how I'm feeling. And I think that is such an important message to put out there. You know, we've all said it, it's okay not to be okay, and I think we have to remember that, especially in times like these, you know.
Absolutely. And there's resources out there that they don't always cost money. And I think by having that conversation, you know, you can find those resources that are out there. My website actually has loads of resources that are out there for people who are struggling with various different things. But I definitely think that it's like you said, it's being honest with yourself and really identifying, is this kind of you know, something that is quite easily fixed, or if it's something a bit more deep down.
No, definitely. And Michelle, so going back to you, my lovely lady, you, like we've spoken about, you've climbed so much in your career today, and you're going to continue to climb. Like, I can already feel that energy from you. But you actually mentioned that you visited within your career, you were able to visit Buckingham Palace. Like, tell us about that. Did you meet the Queen? Did you have a cup of tea?
So we went for afternoon tea. That was amazing. So we met Camilla, not the Queen, which I was a bit disappointed about. She was out that day.
Camilla.
No disrespect to Camilla. It was and the band was there, and Buckingham Palace was really there. But it was actually so surreal, because I was like, I remember speaking to like my family, my friends on the day, and I was like, I'm actually going inside Buckingham Palace. Like, they're not going to throw me out. Like, when I get to the door, they're going to realize that Michelle's this teenage mum who wasn't supposed to even ever get anywhere near there. But I've been lucky enough that I've had conversations with some great people with regards to my work. I did some research for the Royal College of Surgeons about toddlers, and some work around basically knife crime and so on with at the time it was the the Justice Minister for criminal justice. So I've done lots of bits like that, but yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It's one of those things. It's like, you know, what's next?
What an accomplishment, 100%. Definitely. And Michelle, going back to you again, and, you know, the fact that you were a teenage mum and you've openly spoken about, you know, people place judgments on you, like, you're a teenage mother, your life's over, you're never going to achieve anything. How did you deal with those judgments? Like, what did you do?
Well, actually, I have to admit that I've had I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm the exception and not the rule, as they say. I've had a supportive friend group. I've had supportive family members who've supported me, and I never felt like I wasn't still I knew I was a mum, but I didn't feel like I was so isolated. All my friends left me or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think my identity was very solid from a very young age. My sister was a bit of a wild child, and my mum used to always say to me, you need to look after us. So I've always been really observant about people's characters, and I've always warmed to, and people have always warmed to me in terms of who, and I've noticed that they wanted good for me. So, you know, some people attract people who want, you know, they come along and they seem more shiny, but actually they don't want anything good for you. And actually I've been lucky enough that everybody who's come into my life have actually wanted, have been positive in some way, form, even if it's a learning, and you know, you split up with partners or whatever, and it might not have gone the way you well, actually they wanted it to, but but yeah, it's one of those things that even in those I've been with people who generally wanted me good. It just hasn't worked out in the way that you know, we would have liked it or whatever. But you know, there's been key messages, and what I've really always done is really looked at people's actions and not their words. So it's really helped me navigate my life, because people can say lots of things that it doesn't mean, but actually the person and how they show up, they're giving you clues. And a lot of people just, you know, it's all face value, and they say a few things that you want to hear, and then you get trapped into this false sense of security, and it's not that. And I've always been very clear about that. And then, like I said, I've always had the you know, my friends, my family, and I'm surprised really, because I was pregnant and went to school. So
wow.
Yes, I was pregnant and I was in school. I was doing my exams, to be fair, but I was pregnant and in school, and I never got bullied or whatever. I've been, for all my dad's faults sometimes, bless him, God rest his soul, he always gave me a real sense of identity.
Amazing.
And I always felt that I, you know, regardless of what was going to happen, I was going to achieve and try to achieve the best as I can. And sometimes it is about looking at your resources, and you want to go for gold straight away, and it's about actually what's the smallest step I can do at the moment to get me to my goal. So ideally, when I first did the coaching, I really wanted to go on this coaching course, which was £5,000. And then I happened to talk about, I started doing a course online, and I started talking about it, and my work found out that I wanted to do coaching. They were like, oh, okay, there's this course coming out, we'll pay. So, you know,
amazing.
Like, honest about your situation, and sometimes it's not the right time to spend that time. Do that small people, because people will notice, and in your workplace or other places, they might you know, be able to either fund you, or they might give you advice, or you know, speak to the right person about what your career or where you want to go in the future.
No, definitely. And Michelle, I know we've run out of time. I feel like we've got so much that we could cover. I can't believe it's nearly been an hour. It's like, what? But I just really want to run past you. So I've been sending out a few messages, just asking people, you know, if they had any specific questions for you. And so I've just got a few here that I got in. Someone has asked, I'm furlough and high risk. How can I remain positive?
Yeah, I think that the fact that it's a difficult one because finances always come up, and then there's all that piece of you know, will I get something? And I think that to keep keep optimistic, and actually to know that you've got, no matter what happens, you're going to come out of this positive and stronger. And actually maybe it's a time to really think about, is that career where you want to go? And if it is and you want to be there, it's like, what skills do I need to get that stage higher? Like, how do I come back bigger, better, and so that everybody says, no, we don't want to lose her.
I love that. Another quick question. How would you suggest to stop feeling lonely in lockdown, even though you are surrounded by people that love you?
Yeah, I think that's the kind of inner work, and actually what kind of void are you trying to fill, or what memories is kind of popping up for you. So yeah, a lot of the time when we're feeling isolated in a group, it's because a need is not being met. So really what I would say, do a bit of timeline therapy, go back, look at your timeline. When did you first feel that? And actually then kind of address that and then move forward. But actually sometimes it is about gratitude and building those conversations, and maybe speaking to somebody and saying that's how you feel. That might be a start anyway.
A good step. No, definitely. And lastly, because we've literally only got 5 minutes, any tips for anxiety during lockdown 2.0?
Yeah, I think we've kind of covered loads of them. I think anxiety is a cause of something. So definitely go back and try and track where that's coming from, because I can give you tips, but realistically it might rear its head again. But in the meantime, it is about finding your peace, like thinking back to a point where you didn't have the anxiety. What was you doing? Who was you with? What kind of things actually do you like? And that can be really helpful. But obviously, like all the things we've already discussed, baths, meditation, podcasts, something positive, exercise, not listening to sad music,
or watching sad things on TV,
like that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. Michelle, and everybody, just let everybody know where they can find you, because we've not been able to get through all the questions, but if anybody does have any more questions and you want to reach out to Michelle, where can they kind of reach out to you? On Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, so I'm AKA Life Coaching everywhere. I'll say that the reason why it's AKA is because it's also known as life coaching, because when I first became a family life coach, everybody's like, what is that, Rob? I don't know what that is, kind of thing. They were like a bit untuned. So everywhere it's that, really. So yeah, but if anybody's got any questions, then do send me an email, or you can go on my website and send me an email, or DM me on one of the platforms anyway.
No, definitely. And I will post all of Michelle's links on everything when I post the video. Michelle, really, really quickly, we've literally got about a minute. Yeah. What does the future hold for you and AKA Life Coaching?
Well, I'm hoping global. I'm really positive. I've met you and so many amazing people. You all come with me.
Thank you. I love that.
Yeah, all my friends and family have been so supportive. One thing I want to say, NatWest have been really great in a mentoring program for women. Anybody who needs to know that or wants to start their own business, they do one.
Wow.
They do for all people, but they actually do a special fund for women, and that's how I started my business. So shout out to NatWest who keeps millionaires and keeping me inspired that I'm going to be the next millionaire. I wish I was like it was like 17-year-old millionaire that we met, but actually there's so many millionaires we meet, but there was like a 17-year-old. So I started but we're going to get there, and we're going to make sure that everybody has access to the knowledge about, and moving forward, that they can reach their full potential. That's my vision.
I love that. That is so amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Michelle, thank you so much for being part of the show. This is Real Relevant, and right now I'm Kirsty Spence, Michelle Alexander of AKA Life Coaching, and we shall be back next week for another show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Let's inspire to rise and rise higher, guys. There are no limitations. You can achieve all of your dreams. You just got to work hard.
Okay.
Super. Thank you so much, lovely. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.